The night was dark and full of rain. The battlefield was covered with dead bodies like a hill, and on the very top stood Qin Feng. Even though a strange power was making his body grow old 100 times faster, he had still finished exploring the ruins of the ancient god. A woman holding a dagger looked at him and said he was really strong. Then she reached out and took the sacred item called the Eye of Judgment. Qin Feng was badly hurt and almost dead. He looked at the woman and asked, "Xiaoyu, why are you doing this to me?" She was his younger sister, Qin Xiaoyu. But with a cold face, she told him he was only a child her parents had taken in. She said he was adopted, and because they didn't share the same blood, she never saw him as her real brother. Just then, a man with blonde hair walked over. His name was Song Fei. He said that Qin Feng had been very useful. Resting a hand on Xiaoyu's shoulder and holding the Eye of Judgment, he smiled and thanked Qin Feng. Without Qin Feng, he said, they would never have gotten the sacred item. To steal all of Qin Feng's remaining life at once, Song Fei had worked hard to get a special weapon called the Soul-Stealing Blade, and now that blade was stuck in Qin Feng's body. He asked Qin Feng if he liked this goodbye gift. Qin Feng thought about the past. After their parents died, he had raised Qin Xiaoyu. He paid for her school, protected her when a game came to the world, and risked his life again and again for her. But now, seeing her stand beside Song Fei, he finally understood that he had trusted the wrong person. Qin Xiaoyu spoke again. She said that after their parents were gone, Qin Feng kept telling her what to do and always tried to control her life. Before, when she and Song Fei needed him to protect them, he was useful. But now that they had the Eye of Judgment, she said he was no longer needed. Song Fei moved quickly toward Qin Feng, ready to kill him. He promised that he would take good care of Qin Xiaoyu. As Qin Feng felt his life fading away, he swore that he would never forgive them. Before he could finish speaking, Song Fei ended his life. Back in the year 2025, something terrible had happened to the world. A strange game had come down from the sky, and people called it the God-forsaken game. In this game, the only thing that mattered was how much lifespan you had. Dying would make you lose years of your life, but defeating monsters gave you more years to live. You could even spend your own lifespan to bring the powers you gained in the game into the real world. People who became strong in this game could crush tanks with their bare hands, slice airplanes with their swords, and even survive nuclear explosions with their bodies. From that day on, the world was completely different. Cities fell into chaos. Qin Feng fought to stay alive together with Qin Xiaoyu. They went through many dangers and countless hardships. Step by step, they climbed higher until Qin Feng finally entered the list of the top 100 strongest people in the world. After facing death so many times and surviving traps and monsters, he finally cleared the ancient god's ruins and got the Eye of Judgment. Now he was strong enough to fight for the very top, but he never imagined that the reward for all his hard work would be betrayal from the person he cared about the most. All the things he had done in his life turned out to be nothing but getting in the way in her eyes. All his struggles had simply helped someone else succeed. In his last moment, he thought, if I could start over, I would live only for myself. Then, something strange happened. Qin Feng opened his eyes. He was lying in his own bed. He sat up quickly, breathing hard. This was his room. This was the real world. He was confused because he clearly remembered dying. He grabbed his phone and checked the date. It showed the year 2025. When he looked out the window, he saw the familiar, beautiful city. That's when he realized the truth. He had gone back in time 9 years, to the very day the cursed game first came to Earth. The next morning, his sister Qin Xiaoyu kicked open his door. When she saw him sitting at home drinking coffee, she got angry and shouted, asking why he hadn't answered her calls. She kicked over the trash can in rage. Qin Feng remembered that on the day the game appeared, he and Xiaoyu had a huge fight about Song Fei. Posters of Song Fei were hanging all over the wall. Before the game came, Song Fei was a somewhat popular underground idol, and Qin Xiaoyu was crazy about him. On stage he looked bright and charming, but in reality he was a bad person. He tricked many fans, taking their money and using them. To keep Xiaoyu from being hurt, Qin Feng had always stopped her from getting close to Song Fei. But because of that, she accused him of trying to control her life. Pointing at Qin Feng, Xiaoyu yelled, asking if he was deaf. She blamed him for Song Fei losing first place in the fan ranking that month. She threatened that if Qin Feng didn't give her money to help Song Fei climb back to the top, she would be really mad. This time, Qin Feng's expression turned icy. He suddenly raised his hand and slapped her hard across the face. She fell to the floor. Her cheek quickly became swollen, blood came out of her nose, and her eyes filled with tears. She stared at Qin Feng in shock, not believing he had actually hit her. Qin Feng glared at her and said he didn't want to waste his time arguing with her. He warned her that if she kept shouting at him, there would be consequences. Then he took out a bank card and tossed it so it landed near her. He told her that this was the money their parents had left for them. All these years, no matter how hard life had been, he had never used that money. For the sake of their parents, he said he would not sink to her level. But he also made one thing very clear: from that day on, he no longer recognized her as his sister. Xiaoyu started crying, her anger mixing with hurt. Qin Feng thought about his past life. To keep Xiaoyu safe, he had given up too many chances. He had walked away from rare treasures and dangerous dungeons that could have made him stronger, all because he had to protect her. Now, in this new life, he was determined to be different. He took out some sleeping pills and swallowed them with water, lying down afterward. Without this chain holding him back, he wanted to see how far he could go. Now that Qin Feng was back at the beginning, he decided to use everything he remembered from his past life to get ahead of everyone else in the game. From this point on, he wouldn't protect Qin Xiaoyu anymore. She would have to live her own life. And Song Fei? Qin Feng planned to deal with him personally one day. After taking the sleeping pills, he drifted off and soon found himself standing in the familiar place called the Hall of Choices. He hadn't seen this place in a long time. The first time he came here, he had been so nervous that it took him hours just to pick a job and move on. But this time was different. He already knew how everything worked, and he had to move quickly. In his previous life, he chose to be a warrior because he wanted to protect Qin Xiaoyu. The warrior class wasn't weak, but now it was no longer the best option. This time, he didn't have to watch over anyone. He wanted to move fast and clear the game alone. Speed and quick reactions were what mattered most. So, without even pausing to think, Qin Feng chose the assassin job. Right then, something strange happened. A message from the system appeared, saying that the holy item called the Eye of Judgment had been successfully bound to him. The Eye of Judgment lit up and awakened. It had a hidden power. Whenever Qin Feng entered the Forsaken game, he would automatically receive the best possible class and the strongest talent. He stared at the message in disbelief. The Eye of Judgment had followed him into this new life and attached itself to him again. Now he finally understood how it really worked. Once the artifact recognized an owner, even if someone stole it, they wouldn't be able to use it at all. Maybe this was the reason he was reborn. That thought passed through his mind just as dark shadows began to flow into his body. His body started changing. His hair turned snow white, and his whole form seemed to blend with the darkness. Qin Feng's looks completely changed. He had gained a secret, top-level assassin job known as Shadow. This special job was on a totally different level than the warrior job he had before. Just by getting this class, his strength rose sharply. Qin Feng's eyes went wide as he remembered something. Every job in the game had a tiny chance to unlock a hidden advanced job, but almost no one ever saw it. The Eye of Judgment, however, turned that tiny chance into a sure thing. The system continued to explain. The power inside the Eye of Judgment was an ancient kind of authority from the very beginning of the universe. It was even stronger than the rules and laws that normally controlled the worlds. Right now, Qin Feng couldn't use this authority on purpose because he didn't have divinity yet, but its automatic effect was already working. This information stunned him. In his previous life, it wasn't until the 7th year after the Forsaken game came that a super strong player finally broke out of God's abandoned realm and stepped into a higher place called the Realm of Order. Only then did humans find out about something called the Power of Order. Even many years later, nobody managed to actually gain that power. Qin Feng had never dreamed he might touch it. But now, at the very start of his new journey, he already had a power that was even higher than order and rules. If he could someday escape God's abandoned realm and reach the Realm of Order to gain divinity, he would be able to truly control this authority. That gave him a brand new goal in this life. After his job was settled, the system asked him to choose his in-game name. Qin Feng thought for a moment, then picked the name Shadow, since his new class was born from darkness itself. The next moment, he was pulled into God's abandoned realm. The land around him was broken and ruined, filled with strange, dangerous creatures. These monsters were just waiting for a chance to rip people apart and steal their remaining years of life. Players could leave the safe town, hunt monsters, and earn lifespan that could be traded. But if they died out there, they would lose half of all the years they had left, both the tradable and the non-tradable kind. Right now, Qin Feng stood in Shell Town, a beginner-safe area. Inside Shell Town, there were no monsters, and players couldn't attack each other. Time passed at its normal speed here, and people didn't lose extra lifespan just by standing around. Many people had been pulled into the game while sleeping or resting. Some had just finished eating and lay down for a nap. Others had come home tired from work and dozed off, only to suddenly wake up in this strange place. All eyes slowly turned toward Qin Feng. No one knew what job he had picked or why his appearance looked so different from everyone else's. When they noticed the dagger at his side, a few sharp-eyed players guessed he might be an assassin. Soon, powerful experts from different countries would rise from places like this, changing the world's power balance completely. If Qin Feng wanted to stay ahead of them this time, he couldn't waste a single moment. Training and fighting waited for no one. Just then, four figures suddenly flashed into the town, 3 men and 1 woman with a bow. They had just been sent back from outside. Whenever a player died while fighting monsters, their body would reappear here. These 4 looked scared and angry. They shouted that the wild monsters outside were way too strong. One bite from the creature they met had taken all their remaining life in the game. They had been fighting a simple level 1 crawler, one of the weakest monsters. Even with all 4 of them attacking together, they had only managed to cut its health down by about 1/3 before they were wiped out. Now that they had died, their own lifespan in the real world had been chopped in half. The 3 men turned to the girl with a bow and asked, panicking, what they should do next. Someone called her Lizzie. Qin Feng watched her carefully. He remembered that normal archers started with a small short bow, but the weapons she carried and her look were different. He realized that, just like him, she also had a special hidden class. Lizzie soon noticed that Qin Feng wasn't a normal player either. She could tell he also had a special hidden job. With a friendly smile, she asked if he wanted to join their team. The monsters outside town were really strong, and her group couldn't handle them alone. Her party had already been wiped out once, so at least they knew how dangerous it was out there. Qin Feng, however, calmly turned her down and kept walking toward the town gate. Lizzie's teammates laughed at him. They said he was just acting cool and pretending to be some expert. If all 5 of them together couldn't beat a monster, how could he win all by himself? In their eyes, he was just rushing toward his own death. Lizzie checked the system and saw his game name, Shadow. As Qin Feng walked toward the exit, Lizzie quietly followed behind. She wanted to see what skills he had. Maybe they could learn more about the monsters, or at least watch how he died. The land abandoned by the gods was a scary and dangerous place, and any bit of information could help. Lizzie and the others sneaked after him at a distance. She still didn't know why she had been pulled into this strange world, but thanks to years of playing online games, she had quickly formed a party. Sadly, the very first monster they met outside town had completely destroyed them. From that battle, Lizzie understood one thing for sure: this monster was not something a level 1 player could beat. Her friends were still upset. They noticed that Qin Feng's starter weapon wasn't the same as the assassin in their group. The other assassin had a dagger, but Qin Feng was holding a short blade instead. The group's assassin felt jealous. Qin Feng moved even faster than he did, and that wasn't supposed to happen. Assassins were supposed to have the highest speed. On top of that, Qin Feng's clothes didn't match the normal assassin outfit either. All of this made Qin Feng seem strange and special, so Lizzie decided to keep following him. Maybe he was the key to important clues. Qin Feng suddenly turned his head and stared in their direction. Feeling his gaze, Lizzie quickly ducked behind something, her heart racing. She had no idea whether he had actually spotted them or not. Right then, Qin Feng used a skill called Shadow Sneak. His whole body melted into the darkness, and he disappeared without leaving a trace. Lizzie and her teammates were stunned. 1 second he was there, the next second he was gone. The assassin in the group realized what had happened. It was a stealth skill, an early ability that let the user turn invisible. Qin Feng had simply vanished from sight. Seeing how dangerous things were outside town, Lizzie finally decided to stop following him. Their group had already died once, and their lifespans had already been cut in half. They agreed to go back into town and look for NPCs, hoping to find secret quests or hidden treasure chests to help them get stronger. Meanwhile, Qin Feng was testing his new skill. Shadow Sneak let him enter stealth for a short time. While he was hidden, enemies couldn't see him, and when he attacked to break stealth, his first hit would do extra damage. His class also gave him Stealth Mastery, which doubled how long he could stay invisible and made his hiding ability 1 level stronger. Just as he expected, the Shadow class was amazing. A normal assassin's stealth would be easy for monsters to notice at this stage of the game, but with the Shadow class and Stealth Mastery, there was no way anyone, or anything, could sense Qin Feng in the early game, as long as he was careful. He thought Lizzie and her friends were being silly. The beginner town wasn't a place to become powerful, it was only a safe shelter. In this cursed game, weak players were nothing but food for monsters. A few seconds later, his stealth time ran out, and he reappeared. For now, the time he could stay hidden wasn't very long. The good thing was that the waiting time for the skill to be used again started right away, from the moment he entered stealth. In just a few more seconds, he would be able to vanish again if he needed to. A status window popped up in front of Qin Feng. Name, Shadow. Class, Shadow. Non-tradable lifespan, 75 years. Tradable lifespan, 0 years. Strength, 13. Constitution, toughness 13. Agility, speed 18. Spirit, mental power 15. All players started with 10 points in each stat. Different jobs gave different bonus points. In his past life, when he chose the warrior class, he only got +3 strength and +3 constitution. But now, as a shadow, all of his stats were boosted, and his agility had gone up by a huge +8 points. He still had 5 free stat points to spend. Most players poured their points into strength or spirit so they could hit harder with physical or magic attacks, but in Qin Feng's eyes, that was a big mistake at the start. Without thinking twice, he put all 5 points into agility. His agility rose to 23. Speed was everything right now. Early on, no matter how you spread your stats, monsters would always hit harder than you. The only way to kill them without getting hurt was to move faster than they could and dodge every attack. Just then, something moved behind a tree and caught Qin Feng's eye. He spotted a monster, a level 1 crawler. It was a normal grade creature, but it was in the middle of evolving. Qin Feng tensed up when he saw that it was still sucking away lifespan from something nearby. In an instant, he understood, this was the same monster that had wiped out Lizzie and her 3 friends. The crawler sensed Qin Feng nearby. It was already hurt and missing some of its health, so it rushed at him. Qin Feng jumped aside and dodged. In this world, when a monster killed a player, it stole that person's lifespan. If it ate enough years, it could change and grow stronger. Qin Feng turned on Shadow Sneak and drew his short blade. Right before the crawler reached him, his body faded away and he vanished into the air. While the crawler looked around, confused and trying to find him, Qin Feng suddenly appeared above it. Using his attack that breaks stealth, he dropped down on its neck and drove his short blade into its head. A damage number popped up, 174. The crawler died on the spot, and Qin Feng gained 10 experience points. He hadn't expected to finish it in a single hit. Then he remembered, stabbing a crawler in the back of the neck counted as a critical hit. Right after that, a new system message appeared. It explained a skill called backstab. If he attacked from behind or outside the enemy's line of sight, the damage would be doubled. That explained everything. Backstab had mixed together with his other skills, turning his strike into a huge damage combo that exploded the crawler's health bar in one go. Qin Feng stared at the dead monster quietly. Back when he was a warrior in his first life, even a critical hit barely did 40 damage, and he had to hack away forever just to kill one crawler. Most of the time, he almost died himself in the process. When the crawler's body went still, it dropped a glowing ball. This was lifespan. Qin Feng tightened his fist around it and absorbed it. A system notice appeared. Plus 3 days of tradable lifespan. Non-tradable lifespan increased to 54 years and 155 days. 5 people had died to that crawler. Each of them had probably lost somewhere between 20 and 30 years of life, which meant over 100 years in total. But because the crawler had taken those years first, Qin Feng only got 54 years back out of all that. Right now, the extra non-tradable lifespan wasn't very useful. But then something else happened. The authority of the Eye of Judgment activated. Qin Feng received a brand new talent called Infinite Evolution. The description said that, when he killed monsters alone, there was a chance to gain evolution points he could use to upgrade his skills. Also, every 24 hours he would automatically gain 5 evolution points, and if he defeated a boss-level monster by himself, he was guaranteed to get even more. At the moment, he had 5 points stored up. With Infinite Evolution, his skills were no longer stuck at one level. He could push them higher and higher. In his previous life, he had never heard of anything like this. No matter what gear dropped or what skill books appeared, their quality was fixed. Once you got them, that was it. There was no way to improve them. This new talent broke those rules. It truly was a power above normal laws and order. Qin Feng decided to test it right away. He chose Shadow Sneak and Backstab and spent 4 of his evolution points on them. The upgrades went through. Shadow Sneak rose from normal grade to bronze grade. Stealth time increased from 12 seconds to 16 seconds. The bonus damage on the first attack after stealth went from plus 60 to plus 90. The skill's cooldown was cut by 2 seconds. Backstab rose from low grade to normal grade. Its damage went up by 5%. Now, Shadow Sneak lasted 16 seconds. With Stealth Mastery, the time was doubled, so he could remain invisible for 32 seconds. With that kind of duration, he could almost stay hidden all the time, only popping out to attack and then vanishing again. He realized that if his skills had been at this level earlier, he could have killed a full-health crawler instantly as well. Just then, he heard voices nearby. A young man and a woman walked out from behind the trees. They had seen Qin Feng's earlier fight. The boy laughed and said this game was easy, since even a skinny guy like Qin Feng could beat a monster alone. The woman praised him too, saying that with a body like his, he could probably take on 10 people at once. The boy grinned and promised he'd protect her. Qin Feng, however, noticed something they didn't. There was a monster hiding up in the tree above them. With a confident smile, the boy turned to Qin Feng and asked if he wanted to team up. Qin Feng felt a strong sense of danger. He didn't answer. Instead, he slipped into Shadow Sneak and vanished. Seeing him disappear, the boy thought Qin Feng had been scared off by his muscles and tough talk. A moment later, a large spider dropped from the tree. The boy and woman froze in fear. This was a level 1, bronze-grade monster called a Nurturer. It attacked quickly, and before the two could react, their lives were cut short. Qin Feng remembered this creature from his past life. The Nurturer was an early-game boss with very high health. It wasn't something fresh players could handle. Worse, it controlled many little spiders as its followers. While the nurturer was busy feeding on the 2 players it had just killed, Qin Feng decided it was the perfect time to test his powered-up skills. He used his stealth-breaking attack again, striking from the shadows. He drove his short blade straight into one of the spider's eyes. The nurturer lashed out in pain, trying to hit him with its legs and fangs. Qin Feng reacted quickly. He dodged the counterattack by a hair's breadth and darted away, turning invisible again with Shadow Sneak. The system showed the numbers. His strike dealt 338 damage. He had taken 9 damage in return. He had only escaped because of his high agility. Without that speed, he would already be dead. Qin Feng only had 130 HP. If that spider's hit had landed, his health would have dropped to 0 in one shot. He was amazed when he saw that his own attack had done over 300 damage to the boss. The big spider went crazy with rage. It started swinging its legs wildly, smashing the trees around it in half. Qin Feng knew these monsters weren't dumb. The spider wasn't just attacking randomly, it was trying to hit everything nearby to figure out where he was hiding. The tiny spiders around it also became alert, so he couldn't just rush in and stab again. While the monster was going wild, Qin Feng picked up a rock and threw it. The rock slammed into the spider's belly and a number popped up, 299 damage. He grabbed another rock. Now he understood, most of his power wasn't from the weapon itself, but from his skills, his stealth break bonus and the shadow class damage boosts. That meant even a rock could hit like a truck if thrown at the right time. All he had to do was wait for Shadow Sneak to be ready again, then throw something while hidden. When Shadow Sneak's cooldown ended, Qin Feng disappeared into the shadows once more. From stealth, he tossed another stone. This time, it dealt 279 damage. Then he slipped back into stealth again. His plan was simple. Hide with Shadow Sneak. Wait for the cooldown. Throw a rock from stealth. Repeat. Little by little, the boss spider's health was chipped away. At that same time, back in town, the ranking board suddenly updated. A glowing message appeared. Player Shadow has defeated the bronze-grade boss, Nurturer. First to reach level 2. He shot straight to rank 1 in Shell Town. The other players stared at the board with their mouths open. Most of them had already been killed by weak monsters and couldn't even handle basic enemies. How could someone already beat a boss? Lizzie and her team were stunned when they saw the name Shadow at the top. They could barely fight normal creatures even as a group, so they thought it had to be some kind of bug or system mistake. The boy and girl who had just been eaten by the giant spider respawned in town. When they saw the news, they realized that the shadow on the leaderboard was the same skinny boy they had just met in the forest. Back in the forest, Qin Feng heard the system message. Bronze Boss Nurturer defeated. Plus 300 EXP. Plus 2 evolution points. Shell Town level rankings unlocked. Plus 1 reputation point. The giant spider's body faded, leaving behind spoils. Qin Feng started absorbing its lifespan. When the big spider died, all the small spiders scattered and ran away. That meant he missed out on killing them for more rewards. He felt a little annoyed. He should have taken care of the little ones first to stack more experience and loot. Still, he gained a lot. Plus 46 tradable lifespan. A skill book called Greedy Hand, bronze quality. A corrosive dagger with plus 35 attack and plus 4 agility. After learning Greedy Hand, he gained a new ability. When he looted a defeated monster, there was a 20% chance to get an extra item on top of the normal drops. Qin Feng was actually shocked. He hadn't expected a simple early-game boss to drop such a broken assassin skill. This ability made it much easier to gather equipment and rare items. Later on, when players fought high-level bosses, a 20% chance for extra loot would be insanely valuable. In his previous life, he remembered a guy from the Godslayer Guild. The guy's fighting power was only average, but because he had Greedy Hand, everyone wanted him on their team. He even had a personal bodyguard watching over him so he wouldn't die. Qin Feng's eyes lit up. Even though the chance was only 20% for now, with his infinite evolution talent, he could improve the skill over and over, raising both the drop rate and the amount of bonus loot to crazy levels. The next morning in the real world, students were walking to school. Qin Xiaoyu was walking with her friend. Her friend asked if Xiaoyu was going to call Qin Feng and say sorry. She reminded her that yesterday they had skipped an important test just to secretly go cheer for Song Fei, and Qin Feng was probably really upset. Xiaoyu crossed her arms and refused. She said she hadn't done anything wrong and that it was Qin Feng's fault they almost missed the exam entrance time. In her mind, he was the one who should apologize. Her friend tried to talk sense into her, saying Qin Feng always treated her well and cared about her a lot. She also asked what happened to Xiaoyu's face, since the slap mark and swelling were still visible. Xiaoyu stuck to her story. She said Qin Feng was always interfering in her life, bossing her around. Then she lied and said she had just tripped and hurt her face by accident. When they got to school, they saw a large group of students gathered outside a classroom, whispering nervously. Curious, Xiaoyu's friend squeezed through the crowd and looked inside. One of their classmates, Zhang Wei, was sitting at his desk, and his body was turning see-through, like he was becoming a ghost. One of Wei's buddies explained, still shaken. He said that Zhang Wei had just said he was going to take a quick nap, and a moment later, his body started to go transparent. This wasn't just happening at their school. It was all over the internet. People around the world were reporting the same strange thing. If someone fell asleep, their body would slowly turn semi-transparent, like a spirit, and no one knew the cause. Xiao Yu's friend got scared and decided to call her parents right away to warn them not to sleep. She also told Xiao Yu she should call her brother to warn him too, just to be safe. Xiao Yu clenched her teeth and refused. She said she'd rather see him dead than give him a single call. Meanwhile, Qin Feng was busy in the game world. He used his evolution points on Greedy Hand, raising it from bronze quality to gold quality. Now, when he looted a fallen enemy, the chance to get extra items jumped from 20% to 70%. Thanks to this upgrade, he fully learned the improved Greedy Hand skill and gained 2 more evolution points to use later. Qin Feng squeezed his hand into a fist and used Greedy Hand on the spider's body. Right away, he got +2 evolution points, plus 46 days of tradable lifespan. He was very pleased. 2 more evolution points were a big win, and now he only needed 3 points to upgrade Greedy Hand to level 3. Once that happened, he would almost always get extra loot, basically a 100% bonus drop chance. He knew that by now, the governments of the world had probably noticed what was happening. Soon, more and more people would be dragged into the game. That meant he had to move fast and grow stronger before the world completely changed. He equipped the bronze corrosive dagger, which gave him +35 attack power, +4 agility. Then he activated Shadow Sneak again so monsters wouldn't notice him. Qin Feng understood something important. It wouldn't be long before people discovered that skills and items from this game could be brought back into the real world. When that truth spread, society would fall into chaos. To pull things out of the game, 2 conditions had to be met. You had to reach level 10. You needed enough tradable lifespan to pay the cost. Killing weak monsters took too much time for too little reward, so Qin Feng decided it would be better to look for stronger bosses. While walking through a forested area, he heard the sound of fighting. He followed the noise and soon reached a cliff. Looking down, he saw a group of players battling a level 2 sprint predator, a bronze-grade monster. Qin Feng had been wishing for a stronger boss to appear, and here one was. The timing couldn't be better. The sprint predator lunged, but one of the players stepped forward with a shield and a mace. He blocked the attack with ease. Qin Feng recognized him. It was Wang Meng. Qin Feng hadn't expected to run into him so early, but this confirmed the stories he remembered from his past life. It was said that when Wang Meng first entered the Forsaken game, he managed to gather a whole party made of hidden class players. And now Qin Feng could see it with his own eyes. All 6 members of Wang Meng's team had hidden classes. Wang Meng raised his shield and called out a skill, Holy Barrier. A glowing golden shield spread out and blocked the monster, pushing it back. Wang Meng's hidden class was Holy Shield Warrior. Compared to a normal warrior, he had double the basic stats, plus a built-in skill that made him invincible for a short time. While the sprint predator was pushed away, the team's mage raised her staff and fired a fireball. It smashed into the monster's arm. Her hidden class was Prophet, a special mage. Prophet mages had twice the magic power of normal mages and came with a skill called Prophetic Fireball, which made their attacks even deadlier. The team's archer also had a hidden class, Sharp-Eyed Shooter. This class gave double the stats of a normal archer and came with a built-in rapid shot skill, allowing them to fire arrows very quickly. The priest of the group was an Oracle Priest. Oracle Priests healed for twice as much as normal priests and had a powerful group heal that could restore the health of several allies at once. The mage and archer combined their attacks and shot at the sprint predator together, but the monster dodged with agile movements and rushed straight at Wang Meng, forcing him to fall back. The archer began to panic. Their long-range attacks were too slow to hit the boss. It was simply too fast. The priest quickly healed Wang Meng, restoring his health. Wang Meng gritted his teeth and decided they would keep attacking and let the priest handle the healing. He planned to wear the boss down little by little. Watching from above, Qin Feng thought Wang Meng was being too hopeful. Wang Meng had forgotten one very important rule. This was the wild. If a fight dragged out for too long, other monsters would show up. Right on cue, 2 more monsters appeared behind Wang Meng's group. Qin Feng recognized them, Corruptors. They were regular level 2 monsters covered in thick, dark brown mud. Corruptors specialized in long-range attacks. The team's swordsman rushed at one of the Corruptors and slashed it. He also had a hidden class, one Qin Feng had never seen before. His sword strike dealt 33 damage, but that wasn't much. The swordsman quickly realized the Corruptor's defense was very high. The monster spat a clump of muddy slime at him. This was ground bind. The mud stuck to his legs, slowing his movement speed sharply. At the same time, the second Corruptor turned its attention to the mage and started chasing her. She screamed in fear and ran, tears gathering in her eyes. Just then, a shadow flashed through the air. Qin Feng dashed in like a streak of black light and, in one swift motion, cut off the corruptor's head. A damage number appeared, 441. The corruptor dropped dead instantly. The mage stopped, stunned. She didn't even know who had saved her or where the attack had come from. The swordsman pushed himself back up using his sword and stared, shaking. Someone had just killed a level 2 corruptor in a single blow. Meanwhile, the Spirit Predator and the other corruptor tried to attack again, but in the next second, Qin Feng flashed forward and sliced through the second corruptor's neck as well. One clean strike. Another instant kill. The swordsman trembled and asked his teammate, Lai Zai, if she had seen who did it. She shook her head, panicking, saying she hadn't seen anything. Wang Meng got back to his feet and shouted for everyone to stay focused. The battle wasn't over yet. He really wished that Qin Feng was on their side. Now only the Spirit Predator was left, and Qin Feng was watching from a tree branch. Because he had already defeated 2 level 2 corruptors, he received 40 experience points, 1 evolution point, a skill book called Venom Dart of common quality, and 8 days of tradable lifespan. Qin Feng didn't hesitate. He upgraded Venom Dart right away, because it was a perfect skill for attacking from a medium distance and dealing poison damage. After he evolved it, the skill became level 2 and changed from common quality to silver quality. Now Venom Dart let him shoot a poisonous dart as far as 14 meters. When it hit, it dealt 120 attack damage and gave the enemy a bad effect called Venom. The skill could be used once every 5 seconds. The Venom status made the enemy lose 50% extra damage every second for 5 seconds. This effect could not be stacked. The Sprint Predator attacked again. Wang Meng raised his shield and managed to block, but the monster still pushed one of its sharp legs into his stomach. His shield and mace fell to the ground, and the creature quickly stabbed him with another limb, making the pain even worse. The archer started shaking, completely scared. The priest panicked too, because he knew he couldn't heal Wang Meng fast enough. With his last bit of strength, Wang Meng shouted for them to run away. Just then, Qin Feng fired a venom dart. The dart hit the Sprint Predator right in the head and caused 845 points of damage. The mage and the archer froze, shocked. That single attack had taken away half of the boss's HP. Both the monster and Wang Meng were screaming in pain. Poison began to leak out of the monster's wound. Then its body started shaking and finally dropped to the ground, as Venom continued to deal 324 damage again and again. Since Qin Feng had dealt more than 90% of the total damage, all the loot went to him. For defeating the Sprint Predator, he earned 600 experience points, reached level 3, got 2 evolution points, and received 55 days of tradable lifespan. He hadn't expected the damage over time from Venom Dart to trigger his class's passive skill. With his stealth ability, he could stay invisible and keep throwing darts without being seen. Now, nothing in the early and middle parts of the game could stop him. Items began to appear around the monster's dead body as loot. Wang Meng stared, stunned by how much damage Qin Feng had done. A few seconds later, the loot vanished. Wang Meng stood up and thanked Qin Feng for saving their lives. But Qin Feng reminded him that in the wildlands, you shouldn't trust others so easily. This surprised everyone. Wang Meng nodded and thanked him for the warning. Then the group decided to leave Qin Feng alone while he checked through the loot. He also told Qin Feng that if he ever needed help, he could come find him. Qin Feng picked up the dropped items and felt that Wang Meng was someone he could trust. Besides, Wang Meng had the support of Daxia's government, which had lots of power and resources behind it. Qin Feng decided he should find a steady way to sell the extra items he didn't need. He used Greedy Hand and gained 3 evolution points and 55 days of tradable lifespan. He also got an item called Sprint Predator's Bronze Leather Greaves. He put on the leather greaves and his stats went up. His physical defense increased by 9 points, all his elemental resistances increased by 5 points, and his skill cooldowns became 15% faster. This was an amazing drop. He still had many other pieces of gear and skill books, and when his bag was finally full, he decided to head back to town and trade everything for more lifespan. His eyes were full of confidence, because this time, he was growing 100 times faster than he had in his previous life. Not too far away, another group of players was fighting a bunch of monsters. More and more enemies kept showing up, so the players decided it was safer to run away. But before they could escape, a much bigger monster appeared. It attacked first, swinging its sharp vines and killing all of them. The players revived back in town and were really upset, because the monsters always came in groups and ran away when their health got low. People said you had to reach level 3 to leave the game, but that sounded almost impossible. Some players thought they just needed more teammates. They felt that a group of 3 wasn't enough and that they should make teams of 6 or even 10 people. But another player disagreed. He said that wouldn't help, because he had already watched a group of 10 get completely surrounded and wiped out. On top of that, having too many players together made it more likely for a boss monster to show up. Not long ago, a team of 40 players had accidentally triggered a curse master. That monster killed more than 30 of them with just one attack. Lizzie's party had also been sent back to town after dying. If the players couldn't reach level 3, they would never be able to leave the game. All of them had arrived in this world after falling asleep, so only their minds were inside the game. That meant if they stayed trapped here, their real bodies in the outside world would slowly starve. Lizzie was angry and confused, because she didn't understand why this game was so hard. Her friend was terrified. They had already died 3 times, and their non-tradable lifespan had dropped to less than 10 years. At this pace, they would actually die in real life. Even though they weren't sure if the game system was telling the truth, Lizzie knew they couldn't risk dying again. When she noticed that Shadow had already reached level 3, she was surprised and puzzled. He must have found some special way to level up. She realized that they needed his help. If Shadow could carry them to level 3, then they might finally have a chance to escape this deadly game. Lizzie squeezed her hand into a fist and told her team to spread the message. They had to find Shadow and ask him to help them reach level 3. She made up her mind that, once they got back to the real world, she would pay him 10 million in cash. Her teammates were stunned, but she was sure no one could easily turn down 10 million. Meanwhile, back in the forest, our boy defeated a level 2 polluter. He got 20 experience points and 1 evolution point. After he drained the monster's lifespan, Qin Feng felt he already had enough evolution points, so he spent 5 of them to upgrade Greedy Hand. The skill's quality rose from platinum to emerald. Now the chance of getting extra loot was 160%, and there was also a 20% chance that the extra item would be 1 grade higher. Qin Feng was thrilled. The effect was crazy strong. He thought that if he kept upgrading it, the chance might one day reach 100% or even 200%. While it was raining, something in the distance caught his eye. A monster called Curse Master was moving slowly through the forest. This creature was a bronze tier boss and was using people's life force to evolve into a silver tier boss. To Qin Feng, it made perfect sense that this boss had wiped out a team of 40 players. But right now his backpack was already full, so even if he killed the boss, he wouldn't be able to grab any of the drops. So for the moment, he chose to mark the boss's location on his map. Its evolution would take a while, so he planned to go back to town, empty his inventory, and then return later. In town, news spread like wildfire. Someone was offering 10 million to hire Shadow, the top player on the rankings, to power level them. People were dying, losing their lifespan, and rich players were already trying to find a way out, which meant ordinary people were in big trouble. While everyone was gossiping, Qin Feng arrived in town, shocking the crowd. He opened the system and turned on the market stall feature. A system message announced that he was selling equipment and skills, and that his stall would only be open for 10 minutes. Players stared in disbelief when they saw he was wearing 2 pieces of bronze tier equipment and was selling 2 more. They still couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that he had managed to defeat a bronze tier boss. Someone in the crowd wondered why they couldn't see Qin Feng's face clearly. Another player explained that he had turned on the face hiding option, which made his in-game looks match his real face. That was why he chose to stay mysterious. A mage walked up to his stall and, with curious eyes, asked how much the icicle spell cost. Qin Feng answered that the price was 100 days of tradable lifespan. Her name was Grey Rose, currently ranked 11 in Shelltown, and she also used the face hiding feature. To Rose, 100 days of lifespan felt like a lot, so she asked if he could lower the price. Qin Feng calmly told her that icicle was a common tier skill that boosted a mage's early farming speed, and that 100 days was already a cheap price. Rose then asked if she could pay with real-world money instead. Qin Feng refused. He told her that if she had cash, she could use it to buy tradable lifespan first, then trade that lifespan to him. If nobody else offered more, he wouldn't sell the skill to anyone else before she got the lifespan together. Rose fell silent for a moment, thinking hard. Then she used the team chat to ask her teammates if they thought the deal was worth it. They had all leveled up to level 2 so quickly thanks to her leadership, so none of them objected. With Icicle, they could probably reach level 3 even faster, and the most important thing was to escape the game alive. Rose asked her teammates to send their tradable lifespan to her, promising she would pay them back with money once they were back in the real world. She then handed over 100 days of tradable lifespan to Qin Feng. Noticing that all of her teammates were level 2, Qin Feng figured they must have already killed at least 30 or 40 crawlers. That meant their total tradable lifespan had to be far more than just 100 days. He sold the spell and received the 100 days. His tradable lifespan went from 268 days up to 368 days. At that moment, Lizzie showed up and felt relieved that she had finally found Shadow. Smiling, she made him an offer. If he helped her reach level 3, she would pay him 10 million in real-world money once they got out. The players nearby were stunned. This was Jian Lizzie. In Qin Feng's previous life, she had been the head of a crime group. Later, her whole organization was destroyed by the government. With a proud look, she announced that her father was the president of Dajiang Industries. When Qin Feng didn't seem impressed, she told him to search her name. Reports said that she used money to tempt people into selling their lifespan, then kidnapped them for forced labor. Those who fought back had been killed in real life. Qin Feng turned her down without hesitation. He already knew what kind of person she really was, and he considered her trash. Lizzie knew Shadow was very strong in the game, but she pointed out that nobody really understood how this world worked yet. She told him they should work together, and if he joined her side, she would make sure he lived like a king, fancy cars, big houses, beautiful women, and anything else he wanted. Qin Feng still refused. He told her to stop getting in the way of his trades. More than anyone, he understood that normal money would soon become useless, and that the only thing that would really matter later was tradable lifespan. Lizzie raised her chin and said that if this were outside the game, she would have already taught him a harsh lesson. Qin Feng's eyes turned cold. He warned her that if she dared to keep talking, he would kill her again and again until she had no lifespan left. Lizzie and her teammates felt a chill run through them, and they quickly turned around and ran off. A little while later, our boy sold the last thing on his stall, a bronze tier robe called Gleam Robe of Tears. Now he had a total of 546 days of tradable lifespan. After finishing all his sales, he decided it was time to go back and deal with the Curse Master boss. He turned invisible. No one else knew it yet, but tradable lifespan could one day be used to pull skills out of the game and into reality. When that secret got out, this cursed game would throw the real world into total chaos. All those fancy family backgrounds and social status people were proud of would stop mattering. In the future, only a person's own strength would count. Far from the town, Lizzie and her group finally stopped running. They were tired and out of breath. Lizzie told them that Shadow had not only rejected her deal, but had also threatened to kill her. With anger in her eyes, she swore that once she got back to reality, she would find him and make him pay. While she was thinking about revenge, a man walked up to them. His name was Mao Li Jun, but people called him Mao Mao. He said he was level 2 and claimed he knew some special methods for leveling up quickly. He asked if he could take the 10 million reward that Shadow had turned down and use his tricks to help Lizzie's team reach level 3. Lizzie didn't trust him right away, so she carefully asked what he meant by tricks. Lao Mao said he usually kept his methods to himself, but he'd share them with her this time. He explained that in their current situation, the best way to level up fast was to put every single attribute point into agility. That way, they could run faster than the monsters. If the monsters couldn't catch them, they could fight and win without taking many hits. Lizzie was stunned. She had spent all her points on strength instead. She finally agreed to hire Lao Mao, but she said she would only pay 5 million, because he clearly wasn't as strong as Shadow. Lao Mao accepted the deal anyway. He added that while Shadow really was powerful, it was strange that someone would turn down that much money. Meanwhile, Qin Feng had already made his way back to the spot he had marked earlier on the map. Still hidden by his stealth skill, he saw that the boss monster had already advanced to silver rank. A thick gray mist swirled around it, showing that it was still in the middle of evolving. Qin Feng got ready and used his Venom Dart skill. He knew that if the monster kept evolving, it would reach gold rank in about 7 or 8 hours. He didn't want to sit and wait that long. He fired the poison dart from stealth. Thanks to his sneak attack bonus, the first hit dealt 659 damage. After that, the poison continued to cut away at the boss's health, dealing 219 points of damage every second. Qin Feng then leaped toward the monster using his shadow sneak ability. He understood that a silver boss had 2 or 3 times more health than a bronze one. All of a sudden, the monster began pulling in a huge amount of magic power. Its hands glowed and swelled, growing larger and brighter as the spell charged up. Qin Feng guessed that if he could land Venom Dart 2 or 3 more times, he might be able to finish it. But before he could move again, the boss released a terrifying blast. The attack exploded outward, tearing up the ground and destroying everything around it. Qin Feng knew this boss was a magic type, with skills that could hit a wide area at once. Right after he fired his Venom Dart, he had quickly retreated, and thanks to that, he barely escaped getting hit by the blast. Still invisible, he realized that with his current health and defense, if he ever took that attack head-on, he would be killed instantly. The monster began charging another huge spell. Its huge body turned in his direction, searching for him. Qin Feng didn't panic. He moved carefully around the battlefield, always keeping an eye on his skill cooldowns. His hidden shadow ability wasn't ready yet, so he had to be patient and wait for the exact moment the boss slipped up and gave him a chance to strike again. Qin Feng's plan was clear in his mind: stay hidden, wait for the perfect opening, hit hard, and disappear before the boss could strike back. A moment later, the monster lost its balance and paused for a second, as if distracted. This was the opening he had been waiting for. Qin Feng rushed in and used his Venom Dart skill again. The shot landed right on target, dealing 659 damage. Right after that, the poison started doing its job, eating away at the boss's health by 219 points every second. Realizing it was in danger, the monster tried to run. But Qin Feng had no intention of letting it get away. He chased after it, eyes sharp and locked onto his target. The boss was already on the verge of dying, running was useless now. With a quick move, Qin Feng vanished from sight and suddenly appeared on top of the monster's head. He smashed it down into the ground with great force. A moment later, the system message popped up, telling him he had defeated the silver-ranked boss. Lines of notifications filled his vision. He earned 1,800 experience points and jumped from level 3 straight to level 5. He also gained 4 evolution points and 124 days of tradable lifespan. He laughed to himself. Just one boss had given him 2 whole levels and extra evolution points. As the boss's body faded and turned into items, he used his upgraded greedy hand skill. The air shimmered, and the system told him that all the loot had been picked up. The rewards were even better than he thought. He got another 4 evolution points and another 124 days of tradable lifespan. His total rewards were doubled, and the 2 extra bonuses made him very pleased. He did the math in his head. From this one silver-ranked boss, he had gotten 12 evolution points and 372 days of tradable lifespan in total. Then another message appeared. It said that the second effect of Greedy Hand had activated, and one of the items he got had been upgraded from silver quality to gold quality. Qin Feng stared at the message with interest. A gold tier item. Now he truly understood why Greedy Hand was called a Jade level skill. It didn't just give more loot, it could also improve the quality of what he found. He turned his attention to the pile of dropped items. There were about 7 or 8 pieces of equipment on the ground, but he only had 10 empty spaces left in his backpack. He let out a small sigh. If he had to run back to town every time he beat a boss just to unload items, he would waste a lot of time. He thought that something like a storage ring, or a similar item, would be perfect right now. Before he could take a closer look at one of the items, the point of view changed back to Shell Town. There, a flash of light appeared, and the mage from Wang Meng's team showed up safely in the town square. Her face was full of relief. She had finally made it back alive, all thanks to Wang Meng. The rest of the team arrived soon after and gathered around him. They thanked him sincerely, saying that without his guidance, they never would have reached level 3 and escaped the danger. Wang Meng, however, didn't act proud. He said that their success came from everyone working together. The mage, though, still felt a bit upset about one thing. She sighed and admitted she wished she had managed to add Qin Feng as a friend back in the forest. She wondered if he hadn't accepted because she had been covered in mud at the time. Her teammate tried to cheer her up, joking that with her clean clothes and new look, she was beautiful now. And if she met that mysterious player again, he surely wouldn't refuse her. As they talked, a loud system message rang out across the whole town. The rankings had been updated. Shadow had reached level 5. Everyone in Shell Town was stunned by the news. Some players stared at the rankings in shock. How did Shadow jump from level 3 to level 5 so fast? The only thing that made sense was that he must have beaten a really strong boss monster. Another player said that just about 10 minutes earlier, he had seen Shadow calmly selling gear in the town square. And now Shadow was already level 5? It didn't seem real. One guy said his little sister had just turned 18, and he joked that if Shadow liked her, it would be great for their whole family. With Shadow helping them level up, their lives would change. His friends rolled their eyes and told him to forget it. They reminded him that Shadow didn't even care about 10 million in cash, so there was no way he'd be interested in some random matchmaking idea. Back at Wang Meng's camp, his teammates were getting nervous. They had just reached level 3 and felt proud, until they heard that Shadow was already far ahead at level 5. Their excitement turned into worry. But Wang Meng stayed steady. He told them not to stress over levels right now. The important thing was to log out, return to the real world, and warn their families and friends about how dangerous this game really was. As they agreed, their bodies started to fade, and the system showed that they were logging out. Wang Meng's final words in the game were serious. If the world was heading into chaos, they needed to help the people they cared about get ready. The view shifted to reality. Wang Meng opened his eyes in the real world. Right away, he heard someone calling for the captain. It turned out that Wang Meng wasn't just any player, he was a police officer. Several officers ran over to him, looking nervous and worried. One of them admitted he had been terrified. While Wang Meng was unconscious, his body had started to turn see-through, like he was fading away. That's when they realized something awful. If someone died in the game or lost all their lifespan, they didn't just log off. They vanished from the real world too. There was no time to panic. Wang Meng stood up and told everyone to gather. Something big was going on. One officer asked him about what he saw inside the game. Wang Meng explained that he and his team formed a party, and each of them had a hidden class, which gave them a big advantage. Even so, they were almost completely wiped out by a single monster. They only survived because a mysterious player named Shadow showed up and saved them at the last second. Wang Meng made it clear that everything he was saying in his report was true. He went on to describe how fast Shadow was growing. When Shadow saved them, he was already level 3. But by the time Wang Meng and his teammates finally reached level 3 themselves, Shadow had already climbed to level 5. Gaining 2 levels that quickly was shocking, and it made the higher officers uneasy. One of them asked what everyone was thinking. Did this mean Shadow might be the strongest player in the entire world right now? How could he be leveling up so fast? Wang Meng guessed that maybe Shadow had killed a very high-level boss or done something equally amazing. Another officer, studying the details, noticed something strange. If Shadow was already level 3 back when he saved them, why didn't he log out like Wang Meng's team did? Why was he still inside the game? The officer wondered aloud if maybe Shadow had no close family or friends waiting for him in the real world. A female officer then shared a bold idea. She suggested that Shadow might be a transmigrator, someone who appears out of nowhere, grows stronger faster than anyone else, and seems almost destined to become powerful. She added that in many stories, transmigrators are often orphans, which could explain why Shadow hadn't bothered to return to reality at all. The room went completely quiet after she spoke. Realizing how crazy her words sounded, she blushed and felt embarrassed. A senior officer, clearly annoyed, called her NEU and told her to stop fooling around during such an important meeting. He said she'd been reading too many stories and should stop making things up. Then he turned back to the serious topic. He shared secret information that had come from the people at the top. Researchers had discovered something strange and scary. Many elderly people around the world had been dying in their sleep for no clear reason. When the researchers compared this with data from people who had played the forgotten game of the gods and returned, they found a shocking link. The old people who died in their sleep had also died many times inside the game. From this, they realized something terrible. If a player's lifespan dropped all the way to 0 in the game, they wouldn't just die there, they would also die in the real world. One officer spoke up, saying that the forgotten game of the gods wasn't normal at all. It was something far beyond what humans understood. The chief agreed and added that they might be dealing with some kind of attack or invasion from powerful beings in higher dimensions. Everyone in the room felt the weight of his words. Nobody spoke. Then the chief got straight to the next step. He said that the government had given an emergency command. All officers had to form advanced teams in their own regions, enter the forgotten game of the gods, and collect as much information as possible. This was no longer just a local or police matter. The government was putting together a special force to face this strange new threat. He also reminded them that this was happening all over the world. Every country was rushing to explore this game and understand what was going on. If they fell behind, their nation would be at a big disadvantage. For the safety of the whole country, they needed to gather information no matter what. The chief then announced his decision about who would lead the mission teams. Enyu would be the leader of Team 1. She agreed right away, without any doubt. Wang Meng would be her vice captain, and together they would be allowed to choose their own teammates. Wang Meng agreed, fully aware that this task was extremely important. The chief then brought the topic back to Shadow, the mysterious player that Wang Meng had met inside the game. From Wang Meng's report, Shadow didn't seem like a bad person. Because of that, the chief ordered Enyu and Wang Meng to try to become friends with him. Their job was to learn who Shadow really was and cooperate with him if possible. He explained why Enyu was being put in charge of this. She knew a lot about games and stories, which made her a good fit to deal with someone like Shadow, whose strength and actions felt like something out of Legends. The chief hoped that Enyu and Wang Meng could convince Shadow to stand on their side and act as their champion inside the game. If they managed to do that, they could gain important information and a big advantage. The rest of the officers were given their own duties. They had to keep people calm and stop any large-scale panic from spreading. With all orders given, the meeting came to an end. As the sun went down and warm golden light covered the city, the officers began to prepare themselves for the difficult tasks that were waiting for them. The next day, the story moves to a high school. The main character's little sister is sitting at her desk, staring off into space. All around her, other students are talking loudly about the latest news. A small group of classmates is excited about something they just heard. They say that Chan Wai, the student whose body had started to fade away, has already reached level 3 in the game and safely logged out. One girl explains that Chan Wai shared an important discovery. If a bunch of people from the same area fall asleep at the same time, they will all appear in the same beginner village inside the game. This idea makes some students hopeful, but also nervous. Another girl, worried, says this plan isn't good enough. She insists she has to take her parents into the game too. They don't know anything about video games, and she's scared they'll be in danger if they enter without knowing what to do. But a different student disagrees. He says they shouldn't rush to drag their parents in yet. First, the kids should become stronger in the game, so that when the time comes, they can protect their families. While they argue, the main character's little sister looks down at her phone, frowning. She feels more and more upset. Why hasn't her brother called her? With something as serious as the forgotten game of the gods happening, She thought he would at least send her a message. But he hasn't checked on her at all. He hasn't even said sorry for hitting her earlier. That doesn't feel like him at all. In the past, whenever they fought or she made him mad, he always tried to make up with her later. He would talk to her, joke with her, or find a way to calm her down. But this time, nothing. No message. No apology. Even their parents had never hit her, but her brother did. That memory still hurts. She hugs her phone and pouts, trying to convince herself she was right. All she did was skip school to go to Song Fei's concert. Was that really such a horrible thing? She decides that unless her brother calls her and apologizes at least 1,000 times, she'll never forgive him. Not ever. Her anger slowly fades as she starts thinking about Song Fei instead. Just remembering yesterday makes her eyes light up. She's actually glad she went to his concert. Once the forgotten game of the gods becomes the center of everyone's life, she might not get many chances to see him perform again. She smiles dreamily, thinking about how close she was to the stage, how bright the lights were, and how cool Song Fei looked singing in front of the crowd. Then a new thought hits her. If everyone goes into the game when they fall asleep, that means Song Fei will be in the game too. Her cheeks turn red as she imagines meeting him inside that world. Maybe they could talk. Maybe they could even be on the same team. Could this be her chance? Is destiny finally on her side? Her heart starts beating faster. Later, when she's getting ready to sleep, she suddenly remembers something else. Xiangwei reached level 3 very quickly. That means he probably knows a lot about the game already. If she wants to do well, she should ask someone who has experience. So she grabs her phone and sends a message to Xiangwei, asking if he has any tips or strategies she should know before entering the game. At that moment, Xiangwei is hanging out with his classmates when his phone buzzes. He looks down, sees who it is, and can't help smiling. He never imagined that the main character's little sister would be asking him for advice. To him, this feels like a great chance for something more. Whatever he has in mind, he doesn't hesitate. He quickly replies that she came to the right person. Xiangwei then shares an important secret about the game. At the beginning, she should spend all her attribute points on agility. If she doesn't, he says, she won't be fast enough to run away from monsters and will end up dying over and over. She types back, asking if that still works even if she becomes a mage. Xiangwei tells her yes. Agility is good for mages too, he explains, because it makes their casting speed faster, which is very important early in the game. She still feels a little unsure, so she asks another question. What if she puts all her points into agility and still can't win? Xiangwei answers with confidence. He says she doesn't need to worry. Once someone in their starter village reaches level 5, the village teleportation gate will turn on and connect to all the other starting villages. When that happens, she can just join any team that's traveling through. She won't be stuck alone, and he promises that when the teleportation circle is active, he'll come and find her. After reading his message, she feels much better. Lying on her bed, she smiles and hugs her phone. People like Xiangwei, she thinks, are really useful to have around. She felt proud of herself. She already had someone who could guide her in the game. As she started getting sleepy, another idea made her grin. This was perfect. She would enter the game first, level up fast, and become strong before her brother even showed up. When he finally joined, she wouldn't help him at all. No guidance, no support, he'd have to struggle on his own. Feeling very pleased with this plan, she slowly drifted off to sleep, excited about the adventure waiting for her. The story then returns to the game world. The protagonist is standing beside the loot dropped by the boss he just defeated. While looking through the items, his eyes land on a bright, glowing orb. He picks it up, and a system message appears. He has obtained the Curse Ring, a gold tier item. The system lists what it can do. Anyone can wear the ring, and it gives plus 8 points to every attribute. That's 8 to strength, agility, intelligence, and so on, adding up to 32 points total, like leveling up several times at once. On top of that, it raises his resistance to dark element attacks by 26 points and makes his weak point attacks do 1.5 times more damage. However, it can only be equipped by someone who is at least level 4. He quickly realizes how powerful it is. The extra stats alone are amazing, and the dark resistance will help him fight many enemies later. The bonus damage to weak points is like extra icing on the cake. He can tell this ring will be very important on his journey. Before he can think about it more, another system notice pops up. He has learned a new skill, Instant Shadow Slash, a silver tier assassin move. The system explains the skill. When used, it sends several slashes in a straight line up to 15 meters ahead. It gives him 5 seconds of invincibility during the attack. All enemies in a 2.1 meter wide path are hit 3 times. Each hit deals 100 damage. Every hit counts as a backstab, even though it doesn't strike weak points. The cooldown is 12 seconds. He can see right away that this is a powerful area attack, plus it lets him avoid damage for a short time. He learns the skill without hesitation. He still has some evolution points left, so he decides to power up his most important skill, Greedy Hand. The system takes 8 evolution points and upgrades it from Jade rank to Diamond rank. The effects become much stronger. The chance of getting extra loot rises from 160% to 220%. The chance that the bonus loot will be 1 tier higher goes from 20% to 40%. Thinking it through, he understands what this means. With this upgrade, he will usually get 2 drops from each monster, and the value of those rewards will be about 3 times higher than before. It's a huge boost. He doesn't want to waste any of his remaining evolution points, so he spends 3 more on Instant Shadow Slash, upgrading it 3 times. The skill's rank climbs from silver to gold, and then to platinum. Now the skill is much stronger. The range stretches from 15 to 21 meters. The invincibility time increases from 5 to 7 seconds. The number of slashes goes from 3 to 5. The attack path becomes wider, from 2.1 meters to 3.1 meters. The cooldown is reduced from 12 seconds to about 10.4 seconds. Each hit now deals 200 damage instead of 100. Every strike still counts as a backstab and can trigger backstab effects, even though it doesn't hit weak points directly. He understands that, while the cooldown isn't that much shorter, the longer invincibility and bigger range make the skill very dangerous in battle. It's now a powerful move for both attacking and staying alive. He checks the rest of the spoils and quickly sees that most of the items aren't useful for him. However, one item catches his eye, a silver tier warrior skill book called Battle Roar. He knows that if he sells it, he can gain even more tradable lifespan. Just as he finishes looking over the loot, something moves in the distance. He turns around and sees 3 huge monsters crawling toward him. Right away, he recognizes them as level 4 limb crawlers, ugly and threatening creatures. But instead of feeling afraid, he feels excited. This is the perfect time to test his new, upgraded skill. Without any hesitation, he activates Instant Shadow Slash. In an instant, Qin Feng turned into a shadowy blur. His new skill sent out a storm of fast cuts, slicing through the monsters before they even knew what was happening. The limb crawlers were shredded and dropped to the ground, dead. Right after that, a system message appeared, saying he had defeated them. He earned 80 experience points and got 5 more days of tradable lifespan. Standing among the bodies, Qin Feng gave off a cold, scary feeling. He stayed calm, but inside he knew his strength had gone up a lot. He started planning. If he used Poison Dart together with Instant Shadow Slash, he could finish fights almost instantly, before his enemies even had a chance to fight back. He checked his stats. Right now, he had 618 days of tradable lifespan, but to pull his game skills and equipment into the real world, he needed at least 900 days. That was about 2.5 years. With that in mind, he made a plan. First, he would sell all the good items in his bag. If things went smoothly, he might reach the required lifespan much faster. Once he reached level 10, he would finally be able to link the game world with reality. The scene switched back to the starter town. Qin Feng was walking through the streets, completely hidden by his skill latent image, which made him invisible. As he moved, he suddenly heard voices nearby. A man was congratulating a woman for reaching level 3 and reminded her about the deal they made. Qin Feng looked over and saw who it was, Jiang Lizzie and Lao Mao. He listened quietly. Lao Mao had promised to help Lizzie reach level 3 so she could log out of the game. In return, she had agreed to pay him 5 million in cash. Now that she had reached her goal, he wanted his money. Lizzie calmly told him not to worry. She asked if he really thought her father's company, Young Industry, couldn't afford such a small amount. She said she would log out first and handle the payment in the real world. Before leaving, she gave Lao Mao her phone number and told him to contact her once he logged out too. Then she made another offer. She said she wanted to buy all of his tradable lifespan. For each day of lifespan, she would pay 10,000 in cash. Lao Mao's eyes lit up. He happily agreed, thrilled by how rich he would become. With a proud look, he laughed at Qin Feng in his mind, saying King Feng was stupid for turning down Lizzie's earlier offer. He said they could talk about the details of the trade when they met in real life. They had no idea Qin Feng was right there. Hidden by his stealth skill, Qin Feng walked silently right between them, completely unseen. Lao Mao went on talking. He said that lifespan in the game wasn't a big deal. In his mind, it was just like game money, something you could always farm later. For him, the best plan was to trade in-game lifespan for real-world cash. He felt very smart for coming up with this idea. The scene then changed again. Qin Feng now stood in front of the starter town's teleportation gate. Strange patterns glowed on the stone archway. He reached out his hand toward it. The gate lit up with bright blue light, shining stronger and stronger. A system window appeared in front of his eyes.